Jumpin In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. Ah, yes, and here we are again, of course, Friday night on Manx Radio at 9 o'clock. The best in modern and contemporary jazz you will find anywhere, we like to think, on the planet. It is Jumpin' In with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, welcome along to this week's show. And as the racing is over for another year, albeit a bit prematurely, we all know what that means. The end of the summer and 8 months of our other season, autumn. So hang on to your hats and get ready to complain that the garden is now too wet. Hey-ho. No, seriously, we've actually had a pretty good summer and an even better one for jazz, with plenty more to come. Well, what have we got to look forward to? I'm hoping to get to Dudelange Like a Jazz Machine Festival in Luxembourg in October, and we're both planning ahead for our annual pilgrimage to the London Jazz Festival in November. So, H, what's been the hottest thing for you this summer other than the Barbie, and the coolest thing other than the beer?
I think North Sea Jazz was probably the hottest thing. But I think it's going to be considerably better than London Jazz, which seems a little bit of a damp squib for me at the moment. Too many vocalists, but hey-ho, we'll see what happens. We'll go down and I'm sure we'll find plenty of good music there. In the meantime, plenty of good music to listen to on disc, vinyl or wherever you like, downloads if you must. Our old friend Tommy Smith, courtesy of Rob, thanks as much Rob, great one he's brought out from a few years back. The German saxophonist Jacob Manson is Supernova, and might go back a bit in time with McCoy Tyner.
Yeah, and for me, I'm keeping things easy, slightly to one side, out of the dark, and we'll get going with whatever else, The First Step from John Yo and his 17-piece instrument. John Yo and his so-called 17-piece instrument, a great big band by any other name. Points in Time came out last year, and I remember you paid a track when we got it, but it came up recently in the car and reminded me what a great album it was, and that was First Step. It's not the band's first outing. Flip Flop arrived a decade earlier, but I don't think he's been sitting on his hands all that time in between. He's released another 7 albums in the interim with his trio, his quartet, his quintet, his other trio, and Triceratops, which is his other quintet, obviously, as well as playing in 2 other big band recordings. Yo, a native of Chicago, moved to the Big Apple 20 years ago and has been in demand as a trombonist, arranger, and his big band writing skills are really to the fore on this album, as well as a shining variety of soloists, including himself. On First Steps, the track we heard from saxman Billy Drews on soprano, followed by a trombone solo from Nick Viennas, and lastly on trumpet, David Neves. Points in Time is on Sea-Tow Records and all good streaming services.
If you must. Great stuff, as always, to get going. And I'm looking to our friends at ACT for the latest from Jacob Manz, the 25-year-old German saxophonist. Of course, the ACT label, brilliant at promoting German jazz. Young German jazz used to be the slug they'd have on the front of their CD covers. And this was something recorded at the beginning of this year in front of 2,600 listeners. It's a good-sized audience, isn't it? A bit bigger than your average jazz club. In the Grand Hall of Frankfurt's Alte Oper. Making clear today's jazz generation, as it says in the notes, can still produce stars capable of captivating a large audience. And a big occasion this certainly was. 27th of January, the main event during Manz's period, the youngest ever artist in residence at Frankfurt's Alte Oper. And he had a major success with all the events selling out, we're told. And great night indeed. Funky stuff, it has to be said, which is why it probably goes down so well with the audience. This track is called Polygon. There we go. Sizable audience there for German saxophonist Jacob Manz with his live album Supernova, I should say, out on the ACT label, or a concert recorded at the beginning of this year. In the notes it says, what unites the remarkably varied programme of this evening is a spirit of openness, authenticity and deep gratitude. For Manz, it's all about connecting with the music he loves and musicians who have inspired and shaped him, and making a rapport with audiences, which a case is a lot of jazz, isn't it? They always say with jazz, it's a case of there's three people in the band or whatever. You've got the player and then they feed off the audience. Maybe more intimate in a jazz club, but I'm sure it happens in massive audiences like this as well. The listener says can feel the intimacy in the way that the room shrinks. And there's Michael Volney, the pianist. I see he's just got a new solo album out. We'll feature in a few weeks as well. I think Winterreise and Volney is featured on that. As indeed there's a whole host of players, but our own Emma Rabbitts features in the band there as well. Like so many things on ACT, it's all a bit different. They have they'll feature heavily the sort of German side of the artist, because that's where they're coming from, and there's been so many like Michael Volney and M, of course, his great trio. But there's always quite a funky element to a lot of this music. Haven't heard all of the album yet. There are some slower tracks on it as well, but certainly pulling in the audience, a great crowd pleaser with a large band made up of, well, a who's who of all sorts of European musicians. Check that one out if you fancy it. It is out now on ACT. It is Supernova.
Supernova indeed, and perhaps in this instance less funky but sublime nonetheless, a wonderful discovery from the team at Jazz in Britain. Pianist John Taylor, who died all too soon in 2015, was for my money not only one of the best players and composers in Britain, but in the world. A self-taught pianist, he came to the attention of a wider jazz audience in the late 1960s. Having moved to London with his job as a civil servant, he formed an altogether more musical alliance with Alan Skidmore and John Sermon, going on to form Azimuth with Kenny Wheeler and Norma Winston, and playing with all the European jazz greats in big bands, small format groups, and including a wonderful series of trio releases with Peter Erskine and Palle Danielson. He also had a long friendship and recording history with saxophonist Stan Sulzman, including some rare forays into electronic keyboards, rare for him that is. Quintessence sees John and Stan together with the Rand Funk Orchestra Hanover, and a set originally recorded and broadcast back in 1987. Here they are with one of John's best-known compositions, rearranged for the orchestra, Pure and Simple. Considering this recording has been sitting on a shelf for nearly 40 years, it's a breath of fresh air. Not, of course, you should doubt the quality. Recorded by West Deutsche Radiofunk, fabulous writing for orchestra from John, which seamlessly incorporates the pair in what is a must-have, I think, for fans of John Taylor and Stan Sultzman alike. Where and when he learned to write for symphony orchestra with such proficiency is a bit of a mystery. Sultzman, his long-term friend, said, I know he was involved in some kind of composers group, but he never spoke about it. John was a bit of a dark horse. We used to play classical flute and piano duets together for fun. He was undoubtedly influenced by being around great writers, but I don't think he had a teacher. He just studied scores and listened. And I hope that you listened to that score with as much pleasure as I did. Quintessence is out now, available from the Jazz in Britain Bandcamp site, as is a limited edition CD and, of course, the download. You can also subscribe and get access to the 66 earlier releases and future finds. May they long keep up the good work and hopefully unearth more good gems, which I know for a fact they have, as we'll be bringing you soon, the other way around, some very soon.
I knew what you meant. Yes, there's some Stan Tracy coming out a bit later in the year, which I think Clark Tracy from Re-Steamed, Stan's son, of course, has linked up with Jazz in Britain. He has access to all of Stan's back catalogue and Re-Steamed, and there are various recordings. I know we've spoken to Stan before, to Stan. Not Stan, actually. We've spoken to Clark on this programme. Don't think we ever got Stan on the programme. I spoke to him, but never on this programme. But yeah, Clark now looks after a lot of the music in the archive there, and there are recordings by the likes of Hexad, which he would like to release, which have never seen the light of day, I think. But he is bringing something out. I think it's Spectrum with Art Thiemann again, and going back a wee bit, which Jazz in Britain have teamed up with Clark to bring that out later in the year. So we'll certainly have a listen to that one. I'm not going back quite that far. I'm just going back to 1999, a mere, 27 years with this next one. I found in a rummage, as we still like to do, in, I think, Ray's Jazz Shop the last time I was down there in London, McCoy Tyner, in the rather fine company of Stanley Clarke and Al Foster, and they're playing a blues. Going Away Blues. McCoy Tyner on piano, Stanley Clarke, would you believe, on bass, and Al Foster. We only recently lost a year or two back, didn't we, on drums. I always like Al's playing, particularly as he plays the hi-hat sort of backwards. So rather than chicking them together, he releases them on the beat, so you get a different sound. And it's something he pioneered. Not many, I don't think, have really copied over the years. I've really rather liked that sound of Al's. And some 40 years, they said, this was 1999, since McCoy changed the jazz piano, moving from the post-bop and hard-bop stylings of the 50s to create that great volcanic orchestral approach he had in the John Coltrane quartets, which he maybe tempered down then over the years, perhaps in this particular setting. And just came across this one on Telarc. Still going, I think, Telarc Jazz. They are still going, and this one, 1999. And like I said, Al Foster no longer with us. Indeed, McCoy has gone himself. Stanley Clarke's still playing, I think. Is he?
He is, yes, he's still playing in an acoustic group.
Yeah, which is nice. And I think I've got a bit of its acoustic thing. So it just sort of fell off the shelf at me, and I thought, you know what? Yeah, you can't go wrong with a bit of McCoy Tyner, and you can't.
And indeed, he could be explosive at the keyboard, could McCoy. Bless him. And yes, we were lucky enough to catch him in the past. What a great man. Never got him on the show.
Never got to talk to him, yeah.
No, but yeah, great player. Now, next from me, a release from a talented pair of brothers. No, not us, but thanks for asking. The LeBeouf brothers, saxophonist and composer Remy and his pianist and composer brother Pascal. The pair have both been recipients of Grammy Awards for their compositions, and they have got a number of albums together, and their latest Off Centre follows on from the quiet and subtle hush of 2023. Here's the title track, Off Centre. Off Centre from the album of the same name from the talented LeBeouf brothers. And didn't get a very good review in Jazzwise, I have to say, but it did get 5 stars on the other hand from Downbeat and Indispensable from a couple of French jazz albums. And I personally think I side on this occasion with both our transatlantic and European pals. And what a great band, including Dinah Stevens on tenor, who we did have a chat with at London Jazz last year. Be nice to get him on the show sometime. Linda Mayhan O, fabulous bass player, and Christian Newman at the drums, as well as, of course, Remy and Pascal on sax and piano. So what is off-centre about the release? Well, we've known each other a very long time, Remy explains, as is the way with brothers, and over the years we've taken this music into bold creative territories on tour. We wanted to capture that magic in the studio. Pascal adds, Remy and I share a common musical language, but we're always trying to surprise one another by aiming for something a bit off-centre. And very good it is too.
Yeah, it is very good. I enjoy that. I don't know where Alan was coming from on that one. But yeah, each to their own. It's everyone has different tastes, as they say. You are, of course, listening to Jumpin' In, the best in modern and contemporary jazz here on Mike's Radio with Chris and myself, H. And this is from Martin Speake's big band and a new one just out this year, Hidden Vision, the arrangements of Charlie Reese. And this is simply called Keith Jarrett.
Hi, this is Dave Holland. I just want to let you know you're listening to Manx Radio. The show is Jumping In with Chris and H. Hope you enjoy it. Keep listening.
Well, that's a little bit different, isn't it? Very relaxing. The end of the world is nigh. No. At the end of the world, Reed Anderson from Golden Valley is now Reed Anderson, of course, former bass player with the Bad Plus, now sadly defunct, of course. Dave King, ditto, the drummer from the Bad Plus on drums, so he doesn't feature much on that one, does he? And then Craig DeBorn on synths, electric and acoustic piano. And before that, a wonderful track from the latest album from the saxophonist Martin Speake, who I had the great pleasure of seeing live at the Peter Express just a few weeks back with one of his many bands, the one which has lots of Turkish influences. Good stuff. And he was plugging also this latest release from his big band, the Martin Speake Big Band, play the arrangements of Charlie Reese. The album's called Hidden Vision on Pumpkin Records. You'll find it on Bandcamp if you want to go that way. He was actually selling the real CDs, which was really nice. Had a great chat with him. We'll try and get him on the show because he said, oh yeah, I'm always up for a chat. Yeah, definitely I'm up for that. So maybe we should try and get him on and talk a little bit about his music, because he had a great career. And of course, I think he's a teacher either in London or Manchester or both, but does quite a lot of educational work. And the album, he says, materialised through one of the most challenging times of my life, having lost many things I loved, but I always think that out of adversity there are always new opportunities, and a lot of clarity has emerged, including finding new friends, musical and personal. That's just written in May of this year, would you believe? And a fantastic lineup, the likes of Martin Hathaway on sax, Alison Corley on tenor, Charlie Reese himself on tenor, Duncan Lamont on baritone, Simon Minchell bass trombone, Mike Outram guitar, and Emil Viklicki. I don't know whether, you must ask him about where he got Emil in, playing piano. Tom Hooper at the drums. We'll see if we can talk more to Martin about that later on, but great stuff.
Great stuff indeed. We did have a chat with Emil Viklicki in Brussels a few years ago now, gone in one of the open-air concerts he'd played in a small square. Well, that's just about it for this show, but we have got time for a track from the debut on Edition Records from drummer and composer Richard Spavin, a first-call sideman for the likes of Gregory Porter and Bill Lawrence. Light of Day gives Spavin the opportunity to show his jazz leanings, I think, with a band including Ollie Rockberger on keys, Stuart McCallum on guitar, trumpeters Werner Puyola and Niels Peter Mulver, and on this track, Graham Blevin on flute. Here's the title track, Light of Day, and we'll see you in the light of a couple of weeks.
When it's still light.
Bye for now.